Indeed, a lot is happening on the political scene, and joining me on set is my guest, Beatrice Elachi, Member of Parliament, Dagoretti North, Dismas Mukwa, the gentleman sandwiched between the honorable members, political risk analyst, and Mheshimiwa Gloria Oroba, nominated senator. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
No, we've achieved the two-thirds.
We have achieved. We are quoted.
This is how it should look like.
I'm endangered.
But he's now endangered. Okay.
He can go for the affirmative seat now.
Okay.
Should run for women.
Imagine how women feel when they are sandwiched by men.
But I'm not complaining. I'm in very good company.
Not be complaining.
Of course.
He should just be focusing on what he needs to say.
What needs to say.
Yeah.
Mheshimiwa Elachi, I'll begin with you. A lot has happened, especially from the churches. We've heard what the Catholic Church has said. The ACK and other clergy members are coming to support. And of course, they did see the activities over the weekend. What do you make about this whole conversation about the church speaking at this point and its effects, and whether, is it making sense?
Well, first, yes, it's making sense. But then, secondly, I think the Catholic Church has been very consistent from before the elections to now, so that we cannot blame them that there's anything. I think they're just following through. And I think what is really bringing all this is just the way we have handled Chief. So if we handled well Chief, we will not be having this noise with the church. And I think that's the bone of contention, that how do you ensure the implementation of universal healthcare insurance is done in a way that is simple. Every citizen is just able to walk in, register, and that's why everyone keeps on saying, let's go back to NHI. But they forget, this is an insurance, indeed, if it works, it can really, really change every family and household. My bone of contention, and I've gone to the committee 4 times, I have given statements in Bunge questioning that why is it that we did not start by just registering first people properly before even we go. So they went for the hardwares, they forgot the softwares, are the people who are the users of what they are bringing. And I know we debated until the CEO at one night was just removed. Fine, you've removed the CEO, but you have not solved for us the problem. We are saying, and I thought I said one time here, bring a desk in my constituency, put it in my office. Let every person walk to that desk, be able to go step by step. Because I'll tell you, I sat with them in a committee and we went step by step. We arrived at a point, even me, it was asking me biometrics. I asked them, it means your system does not even detect that I already employed somewhere. I am being every month already deducted 27,000 shillings to this. It means I cannot even open and see that my account has now, it's updated and this is what I have. So I told them, so if we have arrived, you're asking me biometric. So my mama who is in the village, who is supposed to pay 300, we are supposed to ask 20 questions, because I looked at the questions, I asked them, all these questions, surely, and this is a health cover. I told them, this is where we went wrong. You make the president to be bashed for nothing. But the problem is not the president. The problem is you officers who have just refused to make it very simple. A simple system, because data of Kenyans is all over. So when you come and ask me, and yet we even have a census that we did in 2020, what? We did our census 2019.
Yes, 2019.
Yeah, and it was a thorough census until we knew who has a toilet that is of Matope, Babati's house. So why don't you just give me now my chief? That is so simple. You ask me where I normally go for my hospitals if I'm one of those who are in chronic diseases and everything.
Yes.
Ask me this. If I'm not earning, you ask me. if I'm renting a house, you ask me, now this system, when you ask, if you say you are renting, it again takes you to pay higher. So I'm asking, so a person who is paying 2,000, how?
How?
No, the system is the problem.
Dismas, is the system the problem?
Well, in the
And in this
situation of
case,
material information,
yes.
one, I'm Catholic, and I'm very proud to be Catholic, and I'm Kenyan, and I'm very proud to be Kenyan. The Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops, for a long time, they had taken a break from their main role. The statement they issued recently reminds one of Cardinal Tunga and Bishop Ndingi Mwananzeki. Yep. When they called a spade, they didn't care who was in a position of authority. So that makes one very proud that our religious or church leaders have gotten back their mojo. And you must include Bishop Alexander Kipsang Muge. So they made a statement. And then also the reason why I'm proud to be Kenyan, President Ruto admitted for the first time in public that the Catholic bishops have raised fundamental issues that must be addressed. And true to the Kenyan spirit, all other religious leaders have now come in support because they were seated somewhere by the fence, like former President Mwai Kibaki, waiting to see the president's reaction. Upon seeing the president has said that fundamental issues have been raised, all of them have come out like horses and said that we are aligned to the Catholic Church. That makes a lot of sense. Number two, chief or shaf or whatever nicknames people have given these radical reforms is what Kenya has been yearning for the longest time. It's part of the constitution. In other countries like Cuba, it's actually a human right. Even in Kenya, it's a human right. Now, the only challenge we faced is transition management. And in my view, what the relevant authorities would have done is to do a pilot, identify all the pain points so that when they go on the full rollout, then they know the challenges. Okay. But again, as with many Kenya Kwanza projects, this project has been a victim of misinformation and disinformation. Because October last year, when the president signed the 4 bills into law, there were many provisions. Like, for instance, if you get an emergency today, if you're within the Kenyan territory, you'll go to any hospital and you'll be treated. But the architects of misinformation and disinformation have been lying all over town that you are not going to get the treatment. So in my view, again, it goes back to the Kenya Kwanza that they've successfully failed in executing communication strategies, that they are doing very good projects. And it's as if, like for instance, if you're in a cocktail party, you see a beautiful girl and you're winking at her, but it's in the dark, nobody will know what you are doing. So Kenya Kwanza is doing amazing stuff. They're not communicating to Kenyans. And it's a tragedy that since we attained independence, Kenya Kwanza has got the highest number of communication directors. Yeah. One wonders what they are doing. When you have signature Kenya Kwanza events coming up, the government spokesman speaks in a very condescending manner. The other people who've been appointed have no idea of these projects. So you begin to wonder, do these people understand that communication is a key plank in any political process?
And Mheshimiwa Gloria, after that statement by the Catholic bishops, all of a sudden there was a lot, every department was releasing statements. And even they got on...
It was competition.
Yes, and then they even got on the bandwagon. You've seen those very interesting cartoons and those animations. And they also jumped on it, they rode on it. I mean, did it have to take a pointing finger for this to happen?
First, full disclosure, I'm a Christian.
Yes.
I do not like going down to denominations. I was raised Seventh-day Adventist. I've been in between Pentecostal and Baptist. But I always say your religion is between you and your God. Because after all, even these churches, where 2 or more, this is a church, where 2 or more are gathered, we are already in church. My issue with particularly religious leaders is that they are seasonal. They are seasonal. And, it is like at one point in this country, there were no religious leaders. It was quiet. People would do whatever they are doing. When women are being killed and there's femicide, I don't see religious leaders coming out to talk about the women being killed. So it's almost as if that is okay in the Bible, kill women. So they pick particular issues, and I'm like, I have a problem with that, because if you are going to be an active citizen in form of a religious leader who's going to criticize whatever it is based on the values that you believe in and the religious context, then just give us Monday to Monday criticism. You know what I mean? don't give us a Christmas criticism and then you disappear and then you come back. That's my biggest issue. And then, you know, another culture that you have seen, I think this has been brought about by the, I don't know, let's call it wokeness of people or social media, is that everyone is a critic, yeah? We criticize. So, for instance, maybe, George, you've come up with something. I'm so quick to criticize, but if I ask you, okay, what solution could you give? What would you rather do? For instance, one of the things that I should point out with that we had a problem with Chief was that for you to go to a level 4, level 5, you had to come from a clinic or somewhere where you are referred, right? And the problem in situations such as Mama Lucy or Pumwani is that you have a medical emergency, you are probably going into premature labor. As you are seeing, I'm sitting here very pregnant. And then you show up in Mama Lucy and they tell you, okay, for this shift to work, you have to go back to a clinic or, you know, the dispensary so that they can refer you. Now, those dispensaries are not open 24 hours. When that issue came about, what I liked about legislators, they said, this is nonsense. Let's amend this. Let's take it back very quickly to the floor of the House because this doesn't make sense, right? But you have Kenyans who wake up, they just criticize.
But what if
they don't have, they don't, you know, what, you call yourself an active citizen, kudos, we are clapping. But you can't be actively criticizing without giving an alternative or at least guide us. You know, for those who you're calling foolish and stupid in that government, right? Because sometimes you're saying we must listen, but what are we listening to? Criticism that is just saying, shift is not working, and that's it. Okay, go back to NHIF. Do we really want to go back to NHIF? Because I have used NHIF. And honestly speaking, aside from Didma saying that we have successfully, what did you just say?
Failed in communication.
We have successfully, despite having the most communication officers, we have successfully failed in communication. I just want to ask Kenyans sometimes, because I am not on social media a lot, but sometimes once in a while people send me screenshots and someone says, Chief is not working, let's go back to NHIF. When I remember the issues we had in NHIF and the minimum basic services that we were providing, I don't think that is the way. I think the way is, this shift is not working. Why? Let us try and figure it out, because when I look at the packages that you have in shift compared to the packages you have in NHIF, honestly speaking, from a salesman perspective, I would rather sit on the shift. But for me, religious leaders, no, it's not only Christmas time. Be a religious leader Monday to Monday, all season, all year round, and offer solutions.
This must hold that thought, because we need to take
I'm doing press-ups.
Yes, do press-ups. We will release them when we come back after this break. Even as we stand by to have that conversation with Fred Njehu, a Pan-African political strategist at Greenpeace Africa. He'll be joining us from Baku, Azerbaijan, to discuss matters COP29. But before then, let's make sense of the sense. Welcome back. Christmas comes early for Equity Bank customers after it reduced its interest rate for new and existing Kenya shilling denominated credit facilities to 17.39%, a second revision from previous rates of 17.89% and 18.24%, following an insistence by the Central Bank of Kenya for a downward revisal by former banks after base rate reductions. The bank says the move is to facilitate a boost in borrowing to make credit more affordable and accessible to a wider range of customers. Formal financial institutions have borne the brunt of losing out to digital lenders who often avail credit in single-digit terms.
We are very excited with what the Central Bank of Kenya is doing, focusing on lowering interest rates. With the lowering of interest rates, then we'll see a reassignment of funding to the private sector, and we hope that will accelerate. Equity second reduction of interest rates, again, to pass these benefits to the customers and encourage offtake of loans and hopefully ease the pain that customers and households are going through. It's in our interest to work with the government to stimulate the economy so that economic activities can be created for the market. Then we fund the young people to take advantage. Our foundation is busy training, retraining on entrepreneurship. It's all systems go so that we can ease the pain households have gone through during a very difficult time.
Your transactions will be tracked across borders for tax compliance as Kenya works on a regional database to enhance revenue collection. The Kenya Revenue Authority, KRA, has also confirmed it is in the last stages of seamless acquisition of third-party data from payment service providers, even across borders, for a deeper reach into hard-to-tax areas. And as Hibak Said now reports, the Treasury has confirmed that while the country loses 2 billion Kenya shillings per day through corruption.
With an external borrowing of 2.7 billion and an internal loan of 3.2 billion, Kenya keeps digging herself into a larger pit of debt.
And who are you? You are a whole minister for finance with a big team behind you. And what has taken you there is to beg for money.
Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi now says borrowing is no longer a sustainable option as lenders from the global north grow more resistant to availing funds for developing countries.
Really, is that the way we should proceed? Given that we have natural resources in this continent, and we just need to do something different.
With a significant amount of hard-to-tax sectors opting for cross-border transfer of untaxed money, the EAC bloc has now formed a technical team to form a joint database to trace money moving across borders for enhanced taxation.
Such as the deployment of compliance risk management tools to assist in targeting areas with high revenue potential, without undermining other important segments, such as the informal sector.
One of the things that I think we need to do to help improve the efficiency and effectiveness of revenue authorities is to think about the welfare also of the same institutions that we task with the responsibility of collecting revenue for us. I have said it before and I want to repeat it here. You can never get milk from a cow that is not fed.
Mbadi now says the country is fully turning its focus into self-sustenance, casting doubt on global lenders from the West, all the while ignoring unsustainable expenditure.
Some of us steal money here, we go to Tanzania, we invest it there. Because when we invest it in Kenya, it will be more visible. You also bring money from Tanzania, some of it by road.
While affirming that at least 2 billion shillings of taxpayer money is lost daily in the country, the Treasury head is now endorsing sustainable theft, saying if only half of this amount remained in public coffers, the country could spur development.
So if we are stealing 2 billion per day, assuming we reduce the theft, we don't want to stop it, we just say, okay, if you have been stealing 1,000, please steal only 500 shillings. If you have been stealing 100,000, steal 50,000. If there could be that, I don't know whether to call it conscious decision.
Through collaborative efforts within the region, Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi now realizes that IFFs and money laundering could be reduced drastically if only the East African community works together. Hibak Said for TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Hibak. SACCOs have been encouraged to embrace technology to attract more members as it remains the only viable channel of sustainable growth. The Cabinet Secretary for MSME and Cooperative Development, Wycliffe Oparanya, now says the cooperative movement has grown significantly. with over 13,000 SACCOs with a membership of 10.6 million members, translating to 10% of the population, having an asset base of 2.8 trillion shillings, despite the challenges that has been caused by the drop of economy.
Of less than 10 employees.
2 years of continued service is a great milestone, and we must also applaud K-Unit SACCO for this great achievement. Dear SACCO stakeholders, as the Cabinet Secretary in charge of cooperatives and MSMEs development, let me take this opportunity to inform you that cooperatives and MSMEs are natural allies in the journey of economic transformation. In over 98% of businesses in Kenya being MSMEs that provide over 80% of the employment opportunities in the country to approximately 17 million Kenyans.
Gathered here to celebrate our Golden Jubilee as K-Unit turns 50, formerly known as Kiambu Dairy and Pyrethrum Cooperative Union. This anniversary offers an opportunity to pause and reflect, to contemplate and ponder, to pat ourselves on the back and also to self-reflect.
Today, 50 years ago, Kiambu Dairy and Pyrethrum Union was born. This was after 15 dairy cooperatives and 16 Pyrethrum societies came together to form a union. The founders of this union banking section aimed at bridging a gap by offering banking services to many farmers who were unbanked.
New and existing foreign policies will be subjected to consistency guidelines before being actualized as the country moves in on seeking public participation before, during and after policies are formulated. Prime Cabinet Secretary and Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi says maintaining consistency, especially on the international landscape, will promote a better image globally.
When I talk of the budget that will go as a comment that goes into the sessional paper, what happens when you do not resource a foreign service? Do you compromise a nation? Is the security of a nation under threat? Are the national interests under threat? So these are the kind of issues that I really want you good men and women to help us interrogate so that we can come up with good solutions.
Kenya is a very generous host to refugees and asylum seekers and continues to offer them home and hope away from their countries. As the UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR, we applaud the government of Kenya for having embarked on the journey to review its foreign policy to be responsive to the current global environment.
Your Excellency, major disruptive and interconnected global trends are at play at the same time. From the technological revolution, demographic shifts, the climate cataclysms, economic and debt distresses, the erosion of democracy, geopolitical power transitions, notably the emerging shift from a world-centered or from a global economy that is centered on Northern Atlantic.
Indeed, you're watching the Daily Report. We want to take you to Azerbaijan in a short while. But just to remind you, my guests Beatrice Elachi, Dismas Mukua and Gloria Oroba are still here in studio to continue that conversation on the state of the nation. Thank you for being so patient. Then when we come back, we'll have more on the other side, of course, even as we take a look at what's happening in the world of sports.
Vile unavyojua watoto wengi sana hawana namna. Mimi ningependelea watoto wasome.
I'm here to stress on education. At the same time, let us actually do any kind of sport that we are doing. Sport speaks the best language to everybody.
Tunataka tutafute talents. Zile raw talents kutoka kule nyumbani mashinani mahali tuko leo.
Hizi mbio za Chepsaita, like all other sports, zinaleta watu pamoja.
We want to use this event to uplift the lives of the community.
Anafurahia hii mchezo sana. Hata sikaange naambianga watu tuende Chepsaita.
Wanafunzi wakimbie ili wakuze talanta ya mbio ama kuhimiza tena elimu.
This is the place to be. Hapa ndipo mahali wanastahili kuwa tarehe 7. Wale watoto walikimbia last year, wamekimbia mpaka wamefuka mipaka zetu za Kenya.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Welcome back. Time now to focus on matters COP29, which is the Conference of Parties, the 29th Conference of Parties taking place in Baku, Azerbaijan. We are joined by Fred Njehu. He is a Pan-African political strategist at Greenpeace Africa. Good evening, Fred. How is Baku treating you?
Good evening to you, back to you in studio. It's very cold here in Baku, but we are weathering the weather and we are hoping for the best out of it.
Of course. A lot has happened today. We've seen, in matters, the conversation, the biggest conversation on the loss and damage fund. That has still been a very elusive dream. I want you to perhaps give us an overview, just very, very briefly in a few seconds. Where are we? Are we making progress? This is the 29th Conference of Parties. Someone who was born when this COPs was starting is now 29 years old. And are we making progress, especially with such conferences that continue to take place on matters climate change and climate action?
Thank you very much. I must say that we have very slow progress over the last couple of days. And as you might know, there are various thorny issues within the text that are yet to be agreed upon. The new climate goal, who pays for it, where does the money come from? And also issues like loss and damage, adaptation, mitigation haven't been sort of agreed upon. They are technical issues, but I must say that, money is political, negotiations are technical. So we are hoping that the ministerial this week will strike a balance on all those issues.
Indeed, the loss and damage fund is a conversation that, of course, countries are yet to commit to it. There is also the annual fund that, has not yet been actualized. Why is there this reluctance?
The reluctance is on lack of political goodwill, because at COP26, COP27, we've seen progress on the establishment of a loss and damage fund to cater for the climate action, especially for the vulnerable countries and communities and the frontline communities that have been impacted negatively by the climate crisis, especially those in Africa and countries in the global south. But the complexity of loss and damage fund, of course, stems out of the fact that at COP29, we have to design a new goal. That's a new collective and quantified goal on finance. And the Paris Agreement stipulates that you have to strike a balance between adaptation and mitigation. So since loss and damage is a new item that has been negotiated over the last couple of COPs, parties are wondering now, do we include it as part of the new goal, or do we separate it away from the finance goal? So that complexity is there to out. But you quantify the goal.
Indeed. Now, on matters, of course, the loss and damage fund, Africa is often described both as a victim and a key player in the climate crisis. How then can this continent that has, been on the global south for, of course, circumstantial reason and, of course, a natural reason, how can Africa especially, and Kenya to be specific, leverage on COP29 and what will be said? Because, of course, to most Kenyans, this feels like, a high-level, glass or ivory tower conversation that doesn't seem to make sense to a lot of people. Can you hear me?
Yeah, the climate crisis has not spared us, even as a country, Kenya. We have lost quite a lot of, livelihoods and lives through extreme weather events that are related to the climate impacts. We had floods in May, we have had droughts in previous years. And our country is struggling to balance between addressing the climate action, but also other, socioeconomic well-being of the country. And so how do we leverage as a nation? Kenya is among the leaders, and we've been leading through Ambassador Mohamed Ali, the African group of negotiators. Our president is the chair of the, heads of states at the African Union level on climate. And we are seen as, the flag bearers of the continent in terms of negotiating a climate finance outcome that, African countries can benefit from. Essentially, that means very decentralized climate finance instruments that can be able to be distributed across sectors and across counties that we have. We have 47 counties. But most important point to make here is that the finance architecture, necessitates that we give proposals that are supposed to, generate climate finance. And Kenya has proposed what we call a solidarity levy, alongside Barbados and France, and is rallying countries to actually join in that coalition where, the highest polluters are made to pay for the, climate damages and, the destruction that has happened. You generate income. We have done a research at Greenpeace, that has found that we can generate up to $900 billion by 2030 if we implement, fossil fuel levies. So this money is supposed to help countries balance, their climate action, as opposed to, having to cough money from their own budgets. Budgets are supposed to have one other pressing needs like health and education and others. So there is progress along those lines, but it must be also recognized that African continent are facing, a high debt distress. We have limited tax, collection options as a country. So we need the climate finance at the global level so that it trickles down to our countries back in Africa.
Okay, so for the next decade, is there hope for Africa as we wind up?
Yeah, there is still hope because the multilateral process is a platform where countries can strike a deal, negotiate, and get the best out of the negotiations. We also have other multilateral processes that are coming up. The UN Tax Convention being one of them. It's a source of negotiating, global tax rules to generate, money for not just for climate action, but also other developments for the continent. So Africa has to step up. We have to, to be as diplomatic as possible in the negotiations, tactical. We have to, build the bridges with other coalitions and countries, and also, strike consensus on issues that are of benefit to the continent.
Absolutely, indeed. Thank you very much. That has been Fred Njehu, Pan-African political strategist at Greenpeace Africa, of course, joining us from Baku, Azerbaijan. We wish you all the best in the remaining deliberations, Fred and your team. Brilliant. You're watching The Daily Report. Let's get sporty.
Sports News.
Vile unavyojua watoto wengi sana hawana namna. Mimi ningependelea watoto wasome.
I'm here to stress on education. At the same time, let us actually do any kind of sport that we are doing. Sport speaks the best language to everybody.
Tunataka tutafute talents, zile raw talents kutoka kule nyumbani mashinani mahali tuko leo.
Hizi mbio za Chepsaita, like all other sports, zinaleta watu pamoja.
We want to use this event to uplift the lives of the community.
Anafurahia hii mchezo sana. Hata sikaange naambianga watu tuende Chepsaita.
Wanafunzi wakimbie ili wakuze talanta ya mbio ama kuhimiza tena elimu.
This is the place to be. Hapa ndipo mahali wanastahili kuwa tarehe 7. Wale watoto walikimbia last year, wamekimbia mpaka wamefuka mipaka zetu za Kenya.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do,
the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma.
Absolutely. You're watching the Daily Report. You're done with the news. Back to the State of the Nation conversation with my guests who've patiently waited here in studio. Beatrice Elachi, Member of Parliament for Dagoretti North, as well as Dismas Mukua, Political Risk Analyst, and Gloria Oroba, Mheshimiwa Gloria Oroba, a nominated senator. Thank you for staying with us and for patiently waiting. Dismas, have you wound up pulling the press-ups later on?
Yeah, I wanted to raise a fundamental issue as put forward by Gloria. In my view, religious leaders or church leaders can exercise their discretion and offer position statements or criticize the government at pleasure. If they want to do it once a year, once a day, once every hour, there is no politician who is allowed to say that if you didn't talk about global warming, now you cannot discuss about corruption in the administration. They need to do it at their pleasure. And then for the few people who are saying that we need to go back to NHIF, I doubt whether any person who has ever interacted with the NHIF and understands the healthcare reforms would want us to go back. In my view, the train has already left the station. The horse has bolted. It's now up to the competent authorities to ensure that the transition is well managed in the interest of morale. And then secondly, an issue that the lady on my left and right now must address is the cost of pharma. The pharmaceutical sector in Kenya is robbing Kenyans blind, or maybe as the white men would say, robbing people white. You'd find maybe medication is supposed to go for, I mean, the recommended price by the manufacturer is 10 shillings, but the distributors in Kenya would sell it as much as 100 bob. So in as much as we live in a free market or a capitalistic economy, the issue of the cost of pharma in Kenya is so high to be left to the vagaries of demand and supply. Okay.
Mheshimiwa Elachi, looking at the whole, you've highlighted the issues that you felt, I mean, from SHA, from NHIF to SHA-SHIF, and that is the whole discussion, as you say, some things have not been addressed. Yes. What would be some, as we went up on this whole issue of especially healthcare, and I'll throw it to you all, beginning with you, Mheshimiwa, what would be that one thing that perhaps the government just needs to do to just, quote unquote, get things right in terms of communication and communicating to its citizens?
Well, as I said, the best would have been we just first register people. You see, if you are registered and you know I can walk into a hospital, either I'm using my ID card, because you'll no longer get a card of your shift, but you can just walk in with your ID and be treated. And you see now people assume that in every health care, they must have something that sounds a card of health to know that now it is true they can be treated. And so people need to come and give them, I mean, the team has to give assurance. How I wish the team can use the different media houses, first of all, to just create that awareness of this is how you register, you come to this point. You see the way we do voter registration? If we can buy an equipment all that amount, surely would have left some little, or those who are, their social corporate program would have been, let us now go to media houses and create awareness on just especially when they tell you now, because you register and then you have now to go to this Teams thing. So that's where the problem is, because that's where I think now you have to clearly give your data for you now to be now fully registered. So people will tell you, oh yeah, I received being told I have registered. But how come when I go, I'm unable to use? But I'll give you an example. There's a mzee who went to Machakos and was able, but you see him, he was smart enough. He first went and said, register me. After that, he was treated very well with his shift. So I want to tell Kenyans, it will work as long as first we go through the first step, register people until the end, until you feel you've registered. That's what I was saying. If indeed we are unable completely, use our constituency offices. We have community health workers. Why were they then recruited? They can be used to now take people. In your household of 100, a community health worker can tell us, in my household, only 10 have registered. Only 5 have registered. So use the structures that are there to register our people. And that way, you'll find now everyone. But you can't tell me we have 12 million people who have registered. But then now you come and tell, when you ask that person, okay, you have registered, yes, then you find there were many steps that she or he needs to finalize to be completely registered. And I think that's where people are frustrated.
Okay.
So let's do the register. Let's stop thinking about how the money is coming, how you're paying, because I saw everyone just talks about data. Forget about data. Now let's go to the real people who are supposed to go to hospital. There's that health fund, which is very good, yes, that when you register in your level 4 hospital, especially in the counties, then your hospital every month will be able to get a capitation of you. But then before that starts, you need the registration to happen. So the key agenda here is registration, registration. And the president must take it now after the Catholics, the bishops have spoken and every church is now speaking. Let him now, I think, order his team, because the last time we ordered, it's like they didn't understand what we were saying until now the church has to go and talk to the president when he's in church. It is wrong. In fact, you need to fire the whole team and tell us where this equipment came from, and ask Safaricom what is the problem also, because sometimes you find it just goes, data goes, and it just hangs, the whole thing hangs. And that is what is frustrating people. And I want to say, we cannot go back to NHIF. It's a good insurance for all of us, but I need to tell the team, it's not about just firing the CEO. And I hope the guys at the president are not also sabotaging us so that they come and do the job. Because maybe they are the ones sabotaging also the whole system. Because that's how we function. When we know we have interest somewhere, you sabotage. Because the council that advises the president understands this. When you meet them, they talk to you, you wonder, okay, what are you saying? And what is this that I'm saying? You find yourself, even you questioning yourself whether, were you doing the right thing? Are you doing it rightfully in the phone? So I hope they did not sabotage, because I know they can do that. What we want is a serious team that is up there, but can you connect and work with the people who are down there who are supposed to get this important service.
No,
it's okay, it's okay.
You're heading there.
Yes.
You're in between them.
No, he has spoken too much. You know, there's something.
No,
there's
I just
something
wanted to make one point.
that no, you wait. You wait. You wait.
And with this one, you have to wait.
Yes, I have to wait.
There's something that Mheshimiwa Elachi has talked about registering. And I'm wondering why we keep reinventing the wheel. Something new comes up, let's register, let's register. Safaricom subscribers as of 2024 are 47 million. That means they have data of 47 million Kenyans. And by the way, Safaricom doesn't just have data of names and IDs. Remember the thing they were calling re-registration. They even took photos, biometrics. So Safaricom is sitting with 47 million Kenyans data that you require for this social health care, you know? So if you have 47 already registered on Safaricom, you'd rather tell us that we have a problem with third-party, sharing of third-party, of data to third parties.
Data protection.
And then we can go back to Parliament and pass an amendment, maybe, under the Data Protection Act, that says for purposes of our rights and whatever in terms of healthcare, this registration of 47 million Kenyans that is domiciled in this particular database, we are saying that it is okay, that it is used for the healthcare. Because our population is 55.1 M. So if we have 47 million, we have a deficit of what, 8 or something?
8 or 9.
So why are we wasting money with registration? Why are we calling people, telling people, kuja tena ujiandikishe, for what? For what is the purpose?
So why are these ideas, not very enumerated in your plan?
By the way, let me tell you something. Yes. You know, and in the risk of sounding
just say
like a critic all the time, you know, people just assume that just because you are affiliated or you are from UDA or you are there, sometimes we also wake up as me, Senator Gloria Roba, nominated from UDA, and I'm like, what is that? And you know, let me tell you why. It's because two things have happened in this past election and this space that we are in. Number one, we have a very accommodative president. You will come in, you knew nothing about our campaign slogan, you knew nothing about our manifesto, but because for one reason or another you have come into the space, you will be given a chance to exercise your thoughts, your ideas. And I find that this thing of being too nice, opening the doors to everyone, some of us, we sit and we are like, wait guys, this person do they understand that the Hustler Nation movement, this was the fundamental of it? So sometimes we also get shocked about it. Okay. But I can tell you that we have a forum when we are shocked every other time, where we exercise our engagement. Me personally, I'm known to talk too much, criticize in that our forum. Because I'll go back there and say, what's wrong with you people? How hard is it for you to just put a service charter for Linda Mama? Till today, I've been asking for a service charter. She has said the president can order. Does he? No, it's not about the president can order. Why? Let me ask you, why would I sit as the CEO of a country? And then I have my team, which I have appointed, who are supposed to be technocrats, because they are technocrats, with papers and everything, including the accounting officers. You know, you don't hire children to do the job. You hire adults who you give them the responsibility and you say, this is your docket, this is your responsibility. If I've hired you, George, why would you expect and anticipate that every other time in your docket, I have to come as the president, micromanage you, and then communicate on your behalf, and then do? No. You have been given this opportunity to go and exercise your skills.
Perhaps they don't understand.
You know, and at the end of the day, that's why sometimes when you're on the outside, and you're looking in, it looks chaotic. But when you're on the inside looking out, I can tell you one problem that we have, as I've said. We have certain individuals who don't even understand our manifesto. But for one reason or another, including the Gen Z culmination, they're in office. So what we can do as people who care about this country, as patriotic people, is we can hold their hands. Okay. So from time to time, for instance, I will pick up the phone and call a cabinet secretary or whoever. You know me, I don't really care about which rank is where. And I'll be like, listen, I am in Pumwani and this is what is happening. Are you aware? And that is my role as an active citizen from the inside.
Okay.
And that's, you know, for me, it's like, okay, we are in this situation. How can I help this situation? But don't, you know, when you're always calling out, let them be fired. How many times will you fire a cabinet? And how many times will you, we'll be doing 5 years of, we are wezi, wacha ashuke. We are wezi, 5 years.
Let me give you a minute, because again, you're the victim before you go to a break. Before you go to a break, just a minute, you can respond.
But I'll say something.
You see now, it's very strange that President Ruto has to do a town hall meeting to explain the education funding model.
I know.
And you have a cabinet secretary responsible for education. And President Ruto has to explain the healthcare reforms. And you've got a cabinet secretary responsible for health. In fact, the current cabinet secretary, I cannot even remember her name, but I recall she was either the Senate or the National Assembly.
Baraza.
Yeah, and she was at pains to explain to legislators on what these reforms are all about. When every Kenyan knows that October last year, the president signed 4 bills into law, and the impact is well known. Now, you've got a cabinet secretary responsible for health, who cannot explain to members of the National Assembly and Senate the import of the legislation. Even now, people are supposed to pay. That is number one. Number two, legislators in Kenya pass a law, like the healthcare reforms, the 4 bills, and they get shocked when the laws are implemented. For instance, the members of the National Assembly and Senate knew that Safaricom has got a database of 47 million Kenyans, but they passed the law, the Digital Health Act, which is safeguarded by the Data Protection Act and all the relevant statutes and legislation. But when it has been implemented, again, the acts are priced. So then what is the role of the National Assembly and Senate? If they're behaving surprised like an Omomura or a Kinyi, yes, that
let's give
the Digital Health Act, however, has a provision to allow us, as I've said, to pick up these 47 million subscribers.
So you want to make the change? So you want to make the change after the hose has bolted?
But you see, one of the things we have to ask ourselves, you see, government is not even the CS. I've always said government is the directors. The civil servants are the real governments. They are the ones who write for you. You go and explain to the president. So you are it's a chain of many people. But in terms of the data, who are the owners of the whole hardware that we are supposed to use to create this system? It is the same Safaricom. So Safaricom cannot tell me you gave us a system and then again, that system is the one bringing us problems. That's why I was saying there must be someone somewhere sabotaging, because they have, it's not even about parliament anymore. It's just thinking through and getting to know, while I am getting this, the same way you registered the 12 million, see, we were sending to people, 12 million people. How come you didn't know their data? Well, how come you got their data to send me a message to say I'm registered? How come? Why didn't you just clear and finish with the whole? And then, who then told us that you need 20 questions to fill in this for a Kenyan who has been with NHIF? The 12 million who are in NHIF, you had their data fully. You just seamlessly needed to have moved them. And then when they come to hospital, is when you update if you are really serious.
Those 20 questions seem to be really irking you, Mheshimiwa. Let's take a short break.
I did one for a Shosho who is very unwell, and I had to walk to Kenyatta
and bureaucratic.
Make sure she is registered fully. We sat there. I thought we'd finish 20. Beyond 20, 1 hour. We haven't finalized. So I asked them, we are 50 million plus. If as we are finished, we use 1 hour to get all this information you want, and you've already put in the system.
50 million hours.
Really?
All right.
Yeah, 50 million of us, because you have to take care of my family, and it is a system where first you register alone, then I don't know. Those things have to stop.
Let's take a break,
Mheshimiwa. We just need to go to a simple way of doing it, and you update it as we move.
As we move on. Let's take a break. When we come back, we have more to unwind and unpack, of course, on matters state of the nation and other issues affecting the country. Do stay with us and keep your feedback coming.
Vile unavyojua watoto wengi sana hawana namna. Mimi ningependelea watoto wasome.
I'm here to stress on education. At the same time, let us actually do any kind of sport that we are doing. Sport speaks the best language to everybody.
Tunataka tutafute talents. Zile raw talents kutoka kule nyumbani mashinani mahali tuko leo.
Hizi mbio za Chepsaita, like all other sports, zinaleta watu pamoja.
We want to use this event to uplift the lives of the community.
Anafurahia hii mchezo sana. Hata sikaange naambianga watu tuende Chepsaita.
Wanafunzi wakimbie ili wakuze talanta ya mbio ama kuhimiza tena elimu.
This is the place to be. Hapa ndipo mahali wanastahili kuwa tarehe 7. Wale watoto walikimbia last year wamekimbia mpaka wamefuka mipaka zetu za Kenya.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Indeed. The conversation, of course, getting heated on matters state of the nation. I think let me just be fair and just give you perhaps a minute. So, I mean, whereas the whole registration is something else.
147.
Yes, star 147. Allow me to just ask all of you again.
Have you registered?
Have you registered by the dismiss?
Yes, I have registered. For me, I didn't have any complications because I went to 147, and for me it was walking in the park because
and it identified you by
because he went to that.
Again, I was not doing it under duress or in a hurry. I did it, I was under pleasure. Part of the reason why most people complain about the radical reforms is a majority of guys want to do registration while they are in fact when there's a crisis.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, so they want to do the registration. And that's why it becomes a challenge. But the fundamental points that must be addressed is what Honorable Elachi has spoken about, communication. People need to understand the procedures. They need to make it very easy. During campaigns, everybody gets to know that we are going to have an election. IBC runs very successful civic education programs before the campaign. One wonders why we didn't do these campaigns for these healthcare reforms. And as the senator, as well as the member of the National Assembly have indicated, when successfully implemented, there are people who will come to study this for their PhDs from Harvard, from Yale, from everywhere, because it's going to be a huge success story.
Yeah.
And then also, as Elachi has indicated, maybe there is room for the authorities to investigate whether there are cartels and special interest groups that want to frustrate this process. Because, when you rock the boat, when you're moving from status quo, wherever there's change, there are a number of beneficiaries who may want to frustrate the process. Because yesterday I had the opportunity of having a conversation with the chairman, Dr. Abdi Mohammed, and when he explained it, I wondered, first of all, how come the government spokesman does not understand that subject? So I said we were in a panel discussion, and we said maybe Dr. Abdi Mohammed should be the government spokesman because, he broke it down very well. But as he has done that, majority of these architects of misinformation and disinformation, they're in town every day discrediting this program. They're in town every day. They take energy drinks, they go to social media.
But
you know, they're painting it. Yeah.
In all fairness,
I know.
You know, you've said the government spokesperson, who, by the way, I don't want to comment.
You've already made a comment,
No.
but not comment.
And then you've said, but you know, Dr. Mohammed should have been the government. But why is he not also telling people what it's about?
Because he's the chair.
Yeah, because he's the chair. I mean, who is stopping him from running Nini on social media? Who has stopped him from even tweeting? Even to come here?
To his
nowadays, you don't even need to come to
dedicate himself to every
with
media
his
house
title
and, ask
and
for
whatever.
time.
He just needs to go to TikTok and even do a challenge.
Yeah.
But you said you don't have many people on TikTok.
Nobody. So
social media.
what I'm trying to say is that you can't be. This is that criticism I was talking about.
Yes.
Oh, government spokesman hafanyi kazi yake, hata heri huyu angekuwa huyo, mbona hafanyi? So at the end of the day, the bottom line is, as we are criticizing, and I'm one of the people who criticizes, but I also try to do my part, is the communication that is out, as you have said, is being fought by the miscommunication. By the way, I love the idea of the what are they called? Not the cartoons. Are they cartoons? The black and white
memes.
They're not really memes. I'm sure they have a graphic name.
You know what it is.
I love that idea. The first time I saw that idea, and I was seeing that they were trying to portray the president, I was like, this is a very brilliant idea. And I went to our group, I was like, ay bana, mumelala. Adopt this one and now use it to communicate the message. Yeah, because sometimes, by the way, you're there thinking, these are the enemies, they're coming for me. No, you should be thinking, these are the people giving me ideas to communicate.
Indeed.
Yeah.
On this whole issue of revenue sharing, Mheshimiwa Elachi, why was there, this standoff? It's not what has been contemplated in the Constitution. Why then are we supposed to be discussing and having a whole weeks of a stalemate between National Assembly and the...
Is it a stalemate?
Yes,
well, ever since I was in the Senate, I think it happened then. And it's always just that feel of each house to want to show their strength. But after the Gen Zs, I thought we would have thought through that, look, we've gone through this process, the bill is gone, so whatever we have, first we share that as we think how to bring back all these issues that was supposed to be done through the finance bill and did not work.
Okay.
So for me, I mean, it's very unfortunate. They've gone for this mediation we've gone through. But now, CS has finished before the mediation or the mediation was over. He has already disbursed. And I can see he has disbursed quite huge amounts for, I think, 158 billion so far.
Yes.
And when you look from July, he has really disbursed quite a number of, he started with 30, went September, he brought in another 32. He's now finished with this 30 that he has disbursed. So you find, for me also, we are not being fair to ourselves and to the country because one, the Constitution anticipated that now in 10 to going 13 years of these constitutions, counties would have had now some grip of saying, you know, when counties come and say we will shut down, then shut. Yeah, I'm about to tell them shut. Yes, because also it's very unfortunate when you tell us in 13 years that there is no space anywhere you can get money to just run salaries for your people.
On-source revenues.
On-source revenue, especially counties like Nairobi, you have on-source revenue that is enough to pay salaries. And move on, every city, Mombasa can. So, Mandera, Wajir, they can. I mean, when you find ourselves even going back and saying, oh, equalization fund, you're asking yourself, are we okay in our country? That this is Turkana that has received more than 10 billion for the last 13 years. And it is still Turkana that was independence.
To be very honest, there's nothing to show for it. You know, these governors, and I think a member of the...
Can I correct them?
Just a minute.
Because no, they're running on fake news.
Which one?
They're running on fake news.
Which one?
Equalization fund. Has it been disbursed ever?
No, I'm saying.
No, I'm asking because let's now first give that clarity.
Listen first.
Has it ever been given and to that county? Because
I have said we had equalization fund. Let me.
Has it been disbursed?
It has never. But
yeah. So how can you say they've been receiving and receiving?
No. You have received the shareable revenue.
But has it been
10 billion? Even if you don't receive the equalization fund, you can still change your county if you want to change that county.
George, allow me to give clarity.
This at the equalization fund is more important. So important, when you look at even the figures, and you look at the figures of shareable, you are better off with the shareable revenue.
Yeah.
Can I give clarity?
Especially the ones for Northeastern.
Yes.
When we came into Senate in 2013 and gave in the functions, and in fact, I remember me and Billy Okero, when we were in the finance committee, we argued and told them, you cannot take all functions because you are dynamic. Each county, look at Lamu. Does it need all these things you're saying? No. Go slowly by slowly. They said no. I remember Isaac Ruto saying, no, we need all the functions. Fine, the functions came. The first time the governor of Wajir, in 2013, you'd walk in Wajir and you'd feel devolution is working. He did fantastic. When he left, by the time he's coming back, Wajir is down. So what happened to the next governor who came in? He just killed every foundation the governor did. He's now back again, I think reorganizing again the foundations. And yet, remember these are counties that were virgin.
Okay.
In terms of, yes, you have not. So you can do a very good plan to start your county at the right level. So for me, after working, after being a senator for 5 years, and being a speaker, you cannot tell me anything. You just need to function.
Yes,
yeah, I wanted to buttress a fundamental point that she has raised. Yeah. That with all these resources that have gone to counties, majority of them, if a county has received, say, 10 billion, and you go to that specific county to audit the projects, you will not see that 10 billion with your naked eyes or even with a microscope. There is nothing to write home about it. And then another fundamental issue is that a majority of the county governments have actually become, to use a cliche, they've become employment bureaus. Majority of their resources go to salaries. Again, very minimal, if at all, goes to capital expenditure. So all the resources that they keep on getting, they go to recurrent expenditure. They buy top-of-the-range vehicles for their governors. They buy flowers. And then on average, every governor has got a retinue of political advisors, economic advisors, all advisors, yet they've got CECs and chief officers. As a member of parliament raised the issue a few days ago, if Kenyans would have seen value of where the resources have gone, then they would actually be supporting the governors when they raise these issues. But now governors raise issues, but the average Mora or Akinyi cannot place their fingers on where the resources have gone. Yet, it's on record, and even EACC has confirmed. And I remember at some stage, Honorable Wetangula indicated that after every election, you create 47 billionaires in Kenya. After every election, you create 47 billionaires in Kenya. And those MCAs who would not afford a cup of tea at a local 3-star hotel, after 2 years, they can buy the 3-star hotel. They're the ones who own all the properties in every county. So every Kenyan knows that this money is being lost. In fact, Honorable Mbada has just indicated today that we lose 2 billion. And Kenyans have had the pronouncement. Right now, they are going to bed. 2 billion Kenyan shillings. He has indicated...
2.2.
Yeah, he has indicated that if we, now that is an increase. You remember President Kenyatta indicated 2 billion. 2 billion. Now it's we're moving up. Now it's 2.2. Yes. Then Mbadi says that if you're able to cover this, then you will not be going to the IMF and World Bank meetings with a begging bowl.
True.
So what are we talking about as Kenyans?
Indeed.
That remains the question.
That remains the question. Gloria.
I want to start from the point where I was expecting so much more from Beatrice Elachi because she was in Senate. But I have also understood it is the interest at the moment. Now she's in National Assembly. Something that people don't know is that this is not a fight about big brother, small brother. Senate will always be the upper house. Whoever wants to fight to be the upper house can continue fighting, but we are the upper house. My issue here.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know me who was in Senate.
Yeah.
I can never tell
No,
you that.
but you see,
there's
this
no
is,
upper house in Senate.
This is
I would
what,
tell you.
Can I have my time?
Why would I go there?
I don't want to speak over.
No, it's okay.
My issue is I was expecting her from a more informed, especially because she has even talked about having sat in the Finance Committee. I don't sit in the Finance Committee in the Senate, but I am very active in everything that goes on in the House, so I'm very well aware. The thing that you're calling a standoff between the National Assembly and the Senate, let me tell you where it's rooting for. There is an issue about the county additional allocation. So, after the finance bill lapsed, right, everyone had to take a cut. And when I say everyone, we are talking about CDF, which is domiciled in the National Assembly. We are talking about ministries. We are talking about specific places we had to take a cut, right? Now, if you have noticed, since the finance bill dropped, we have had some senators, I can even say Onyonka, come out and say that this CDF is even, should not even be there. The Constituency Development Fund should not be there. It should be removed. You have had members of the National Assembly pushing back and forth. You know what the story is behind there? There is some 10 billion Kenya shillings that is domiciled under the County Additional Allocation Fund, the additional allocation. And this money is supposed to go to the roads levy, right? Previously, it used to go to county governments, right? And that money is what now the members of parliament are trying to fight for by pushing it to CDF. So there's 10 billion that's up for grabs. And members of parliament, let me just finish. Members of parliament, through the back door, and you know, trust me, because I'm not talking from the streets of Luthuli, I'm talking from parliament buildings. Members of parliament are actually trying to insist that this roads levy be domiciled in the CDF, such that they are the ones who are going to be controlling that money. You understand? There's a conservative order right now where the court has pronounced that this 10 billion should not be removed from the county governments as beneficiaries, and the case is going, it's in Endelea. Okay. It's, you know, it's ongoing. Now that is the war that you don't see. That is why now the National Assembly have brought for us a bill saying that county governments should go down to 380, is it 380 billion from 420 or something like that, from 400 billion. I don't have the exact figure. Why? Because it is their way to bulldoze that the Council of Governors remove whatever it is they are fighting for on this roads levy. It is basically hivyo ndo wamewashikia. Ondoeni ile kitu kotini, alafu sisi tutawapandishia hii 400, lakini sisi mtuachie hiyo pesa iende kwa CDF. And people won't tell you this because apparently I'm not a structured politician. By the way, I'm thinking of leaving this politics, but that is the truth of the matter. Now, when we talked about...
Is it getting too hot?
No, it's just getting too annoying because sometimes we are like, now look what we are talking about. We're talking about own source revenue. We are talking about counties having, you know, something which we really thought about in the 2010 constitution as equitable share. Someone is questioning it by saying Nairobi has enough own source revenue to run its own county. But do you understand that Nairobi, Nakuru, and 6 other counties are the reason why we have a basket which the money comes together, and then now we are able to go to the other counties that don't have any money. That's what it's called, equitable share.
Equitable share.
Yeah, so when you come now here and start saying, oh, Nairobi should run its show like this, Nakuru should, what about those who don't have own source revenue? Go to Kwale, for instance. What is their own source revenue? Then you will say that this 2010 constitution was only made for the counties that are able to make this money. That is not the spirit of this constitution. So the issue of how we are having a standoff or whatever, don't look at the face value of it. Behind the scenes are very greedy members of parliament trying to get an extra 10 billion into CDF. And that is why Beatrice is trying to sugarcoat. But the bottom line is, there's a 10 billion, you have spotted it, you are trying to remove it from the county governments and bring it into CDF.
Is there 10 billion?
And finally, let me just, no, it is there. You can see the conservatory orders, it's there. And finally, let me just tell you something about this own source revenue. When you look at the counties with the highest own source revenue, and you look at the economic activities around, and you look at the monies that are being spent to maintain infrastructure such that those economic activities can go on, it is not a simple matter of you are bringing 10 billion, run your own show. You're bringing 10 billion, look at the roads that you're maintaining. You're bringing 10 billion, look at the street lights that you have to pay bills for. You understand? So it's not a simplistic thing. And that's why I was saying I'm very disappointed at, let me call her Senator Beatrice Elachi, now national, now member of Parliament of Dagoretti North.
Now why
because as a senator, as a senator,
and I'm not a senator now,
in the upper house, to make sure that we protect devolution, she should understand that what Senate is fighting for is that county governments get their 400B and be able to account for it. By the way, we're not talking about wastage, and that's another conversation. But you cannot have, you've devolved functions, and then you want to say counties should have less money and take most of that money to CDF.
So that you wrap it up.
So now, one, we've had the RMLF levy for a while. Kera has been there for a while. And I think even when I was in Senate, Kera was there, and it was in the National Assembly, because it's meant to be money with national government, so it's removed from part of national government money. Now, Kera to date is still there, and Kura. And so when you budget for Kera and Kura, the monies will go to the roads of Kera. Most of those roads are in the constituency. Now, let me give an example for myself. So the 10 billion is not even just there. When I joined into 2022, I found they had already budgeted for money for Dagoretti North. That is how we've managed to do a road that has been there with all my two governors and third my governor now. And it was never tarmacked for 55 years, if you ask the people of Dagoretti North. This is the first time we've tarmacked that road from Muslim to Gatina, using the Kera money. That was of 2022-2023 budget. That's the 10 billion. So it is not where it is hidden. It has been there, and it has always been there. That is some of the monies that go in the rural, and that's how they do those Kera roads in the rural. The biggest challenge with everything, even if you ask my governor to date, fine, the roads are in Kilimani. Now we are not doing, see, we are in court. Why is the governors not doing with the monies? Because in that equitable share, if today we decide remove everything and we remain with county governments, and we share equitably per constituency, then it means Dagoretti North I can move with around 700 million. It's serious money. And I think that is where we need to head. Divide the money per constituency so that we start taking care of our roads.
Didn't I say that they are fighting for CDF?
We are not fighting. I'm just saying.
What did I say?
It's the money that comes in our counties, isn't it?
What did I say?
Isn't it supposed to come in a constituency?
They want to remove,
where is the governor?
They want to remove the county government as a beneficiary. By the way, if you go, listen.
The county government has its money, and
can I refer you to the case number HCC HRPET stroke E423 2024.
Yes.
This is a petitioner, an active citizen who I'm very proud of, by the way, who went in there, and so there's something wrong with these members of parliament. They have their CDF. Mheshimiwa Elachi will tell you she has about 100 M CDF. 100 million in Dagoretti North. Right? How many wards do you have?
But you see, I went for constituency.
How many wards?
If you want to come and handle 100 million.
How many wards?
You come to
how many wards do you have? 5 wards, right?
Yes.
5 wards with 100 million.
Yes.
But that's not enough. Now they have come to the county government.
No, we have not.
Yes, because the beneficiaries, the beneficiaries of,
it has never touched
government. The beneficiaries of, you know me, I'm not. Me, I've even given you a reference number. You can go and get the facts. I'm not talking out of the beneficiaries of that 10 billion has always been that the county government pushes for that money that's coming from the roads levy to push on repairs and maintenance. As a legislator, what is your
anyone wants 100 million?
No, what is your
the minority here?
Let me compare. What is your interest as a legislator to implement projects? You know, our work is oversight. We're supposed to oversight. Yani we upewe pesa ufanye kazi si tukuje tuone umeiba.
No, we find it there.
Ama haujaiba. Why are members of parliament?
But now we found it.
They want now to be project managers
because it is.
They want to be supervisors of roads. They want to be contractors.
Been there for 20 years.
They want to be construction managers. No.
We shall be all of that. As long as we're in the National Assembly. So Senate should release and stay and do nothing and do oversight for the account.
Just be happy.
I really like the fight we are witnessing tonight of elected leaders. And we must encourage members of the National Assembly, Senate, MCAs, governors to engage in these fights, because now we get to understand the backstory. It's not all about serving Mura, it's about serving their selfish interest. But something significant.
Especially the members of parliament. Senators, we don't have.
Here we go again.
I'm endangered again.
Let my last one up.
We have no
26 million at the public they have for oversight. They do nothing, they just oversight. Sharing
has already lied to us about so many funds.
Okay, order. Gloria. Okay, fine.
Senate does not have funds.
It's a fact.
I'm a sitting member. I'm a sitting member of Senate.
Go and see in Parliamentary Service Commission. Ask them how much our senators are being given. Just for oversight. Oversight.
Senators are not getting any money.
They have. And it is in
I am a senator. Where is this money coming from?
They have. Why and then they went to court to try and say they need more.
Getting any money.
And they lost the case.
So
let this must have it.
100 million.
Let this must have it.
I think we need to pass another law to give elected leaders more energy drinks so that they reveal all these secrets.
Have you heard really revealed today? 26 million for just
that's not true.
Oversight.
Yeah, but Maringa, something
that's not true.
And the court
and George, please, my issue on this show. It's not true. Please let's speak facts.
True.
Let's speak facts.
It's true.
The Senate Oversight Fund, wherever it started.
Just now?
Let him send you.
So as she gets this document.
Let him. You see, she's saying, let me ask the clerk.
Yes. Okay, Gloria. Let's listen to Let's listen to Dismas.
You know this clerk also.
Something again, because Avada, you've received the warning sign. Something significant has happened today. That for the first time, Kenya's foreign policy is going to be anchored on Mora's interest. Today, the PCS had a stakeholder as a validation, which is very important because for the longest time, majority of Kenyans have not created the nexus between foreign policy and the person Fukoni. So for the first time, you're going to have a foreign policy which reflects the aspirations and interests for Mora. But finally, please create more time so that we discuss this subject into detail.
Factually.
Yeah, so that you give Gloria about 30 minutes and between 30 minutes. And we get an MC and a governor.
And with
facts.
So that now Mora back in the village can actually understand that majority
the role of
these
each other.
Elected leaders is to line their pockets and not serve the interest of Mora.
We serve the interest.
Let me ask you, which pocket is a nominated senator doesn't even have an office. Let's start from there.
No, they do.
Your closing remarks. Gloria. Gloria. Gloria.
Beatrice, you used to. Yeah. And in the past,
I thought it is.
Which office funds do you know? Sometimes I listen to guys speaking and I'm like.
Your closing remarks.
My closing remarks is this. As a member of parliament, but you're also calling the clerk. You see, there's discrepancies. As a member of parliament, I will tell you this. The issue of the equitable share, that issue. What you see and all the noise that's happening, for me, I got to understand a long time ago. I think CDF is a good thing. CDF should be left to work as it is. As I've told you, there are people like Dagoretti not receiving 100 million. That should be enough to have such impact on the ground for 5 wards. My issue now becomes on the county government, as we are pushing from the Senate, for them to get this 400 billion. I have been forefront talking about on-source revenue, making sure that it is utilized well, or at least we raise it. But I'm also aware that the 2010 Constitution, the spirit of it was to make sure that we are all addressed equally and the services we get, that's why it's called equitable share. You cannot take away money from the equitable share and pretend to care about this country, but really what you're doing is trying to drive a backdoor agenda to increase your constituency development fund.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, and that for me, that is a really huge fundamental issue, because at the end of the day, there are so many members of parliament, they cannot even account for their CDF.
Mheshimiwa Elachi, the last word briefly.
I think one of the things we have to agree that the model of CDF is so different, and I wish the counties would have taken the same model. Because in CDF, one of the things you can tell me, you will account for it to the last penny. Why? The committee that deals with the money is of the school. The moment you say Keleleshwa will get this amount, it goes to the PMC of Keleleshwa. They are the ones to pay the contractor until the end, and the only thing they will bring back to the office is after they have cleared everything. And there is no CDF project that starts without its own money. So it doesn't even have pending bills. It is the only fund in government that never has a pending bill. You start a project when the money is there and you end. CDF only deals with schools and security. So you cannot tell me now you can put it in roads. Roads has its own way and it has its own process with Kera and Kura.
Absolutely.
Those are roads of national government. And we have roads of counties that were classified, that I need the governors can also work on those roads of counties. So the 10 billion is an issue because it was there before even 2013. Kera was there and it used to have that money.
Some feedback here. Good evening. Why is the government not employing P1 teachers who graduated from 2010, yet it is doing so for JSS who graduated just yesterday? Mkenya Mzalenda ndio jina langu. I've been waiting for such conversations on television. Can't wait for it with some clap emoji. It's Joseph Bogide watching live from Langata. That's just part of the feedback I've been able to get right here on TV47 Daily Report. To appreciate our guests tonight, on my immediate left, Honorable Gloria Oroba, nominated senator.
Honorable.
You want me to call you honorable? This was Mukua, political risk analyst. And of course, Mheshimiwa, and they have bestowed on you.
Yeah, honorary, Tomorrow I shall receive my award.
Yes. And Mheshimiwa Beatrice Elachi, Member of Parliament, Dagoretti North. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us and for watching. My name is George Maringa. As always, stay safe and be kind to one another. Catherine Simaloy has been on sign language interpretation tonight.